I'm pretty sure that I've mentioned the mentality of some police officers that's overzealous, anxious, and a lot of times just reckless. And there's no other way to talk about this. Am I free to just say it the way it needs to be said? Why does that have to seem like it's some type of secret? The mentality of some law enforcement. These are people that are paid and sworn in to serve and protect. In my culture, in my community, we know that code for a lot of those cops is just because we've been examples of the abuse of power and how some law enforcement seem to be drunk off said power. Because without that badge and the things that come behind the badge, a lot of those officers don't have any say-so in the world whatsoever, not even in their own home. So with that being said, I just want people to come in and do their job the right way. Just like if I'm working a 9-to-5 job and people expect my service to be a particular way and they want me to do my job correctly, I expect the people in the highest positions and the most important roles and jobs to do their job as well. At certain jobs, if you upset the customer a certain way, they will do everything in their power to get you out of that job. It could be fast food. You don't give people enough ketchup and jelly and they ready to come through the drive-through window and physically harm you. We've seen examples of this, unfortunately, too many times. People have died at restaurants over terrible customer service. Why is it that when it comes to law enforcement, it's as if civilians aren't even supposed to have a voice at all? That their customers, the civilians that they're sworn to protect and serve, they have no voice and no say-so against people who have the authority to take your life if they see fit. Because not only being overzealous and over anxious, they overly scary. They always shook. They always fearful of something. And I get it. It's human nature to have a sense of awareness. That's all humans. That's not just because you're a police officer. Us as human beings, we all have instincts and we all have survival instincts. So even when law enforcement is trying to explain why certain officers have taken certain actions, they talk to civilians as if we can't comprehend basic human survival skills, that we can't comprehend what it's like to maneuver around a sense of danger. Are these people stupid or something? Some of these officers and some of this law enforcement, the places that they're patrolling and that they're so fearful that they're in, this is the environment we live in, that we're just at on a daily basis, raising families and trying to live a normal life. These are the same neighborhoods that we live in. These are the same streets that we walk every day. These are the same streets that our kids walk every day. If the police are afraid to be in these neighborhoods and they're always fearful of something going on while they're on patrol, how the f do you think everybody else feel? The civilians that don't have the firearm, that don't have the nightstick, that don't have the handcuffs, the tasers, the pepper spray, the K9 unit, backup, and the power of the media on their side automatically. How the do you think the civilians feel? This is why I'm always baffled that the law enforcement isn't looked at a little bit more intensively when it comes to preparing people to be police officers. I always say it on this show. It's one of the oldest lines in the book. It just don't take a rocket scientist to figure some of these things out. I'm trying to stick to the main story, but again, this then opened up a portal to all type of problems. I hate when we see conversations come to life. The same conversations we have on this channel, it seems like soon after we always get an example in real time. But it's because we've seen it too many times. It's a never-ending cycle, it seems like. But this is why conversations to me are important, because sooner or later, it's gonna have to take some smart people to figure out some real solutions. In a minute, it's not gonna matter about if you've been a cop for 30 years or if you've been a government official for 40 years. These numbers are just not gonna matter soon. The president himself have relieved thousands of people of their jobs due to their age limit. So why is it that those things can happen in that instance, But we have to take some type of solace that a lot of people in law enforcement have been there for over decades. Like that's supposed to provide some type of relief to the regular citizen. To me, it doesn't mean much of anything because we've pointed out in the past the number of high-ranking police officers that have committed suicide. Again, these are people that have been with law enforcement 20, 30 years. And for some reason, they're choosing to end their life. This is not a conversation, and I'm not a person who's just saying things for shock value or just trying to be an on-air personality. As far as I'm concerned, the world is in a state of emergency. And America does a great job at making it seem otherwise. They do a great job at that. I gotta admit, I gotta give these people a round of applause. This is America. And America is great with PR, public relations, managing images. This is what they do. And they've done a great job at making this country feel as though everything is okay. That for the most part, everything is in check. When all you have to do is just cut on your local news. I promise you, you don't have to take my word for it. I always tell you, I might as well start having a disclaimer on the screen. You don't have to believe Southside Trey. But listen and hear what I got to say, and then you take it from there. You go see if I'm telling you something that's not actually happening. So go cut on your local news. You could pause this real quick. I'll be right here when you get back. Pause me and go turn on your local news and see if I'm lying. Then once you get that out the way, come unpause this video with Southside Trey and let me finish getting into my conversation. Not only is America in a state of emergency, law enforcement is in a state of emergency as far as I'm concerned. Just in Chicago alone, we've heard about numerous times of police officers, including high-ranking officers, taking their own life. How can that not be considered an emergency? More than one should be alarming. The first one should set the tone and have everybody trying to figure out what's going on with people's mindset when they're putting on this uniform and this badge. More than one should have been enough. It's been multiple. The last time that I had some type of a show was in 2020. That's 5 years ago. And this was one of the topics then. And it was about 2 or 3 suicides that happened at that time. This is 5 years later, and the exact same thing is going on. America does a great job with public relations and image. Because how is that not a cause for concern? I like to break things down to the simplest terms. The simplest terms, the most complex equations. I like to break it down so I could talk to a 3 or 4-year-old and explain it to them and they understand it. So then that way, it's no reason why a full-blown adult shouldn't be able to understand what I'm saying. Explain to me how that's not an emergency that police officers are just randomly committing suicide at this rate.